Gentlemen, welcome to my channel. You all know that for the ship to run, it needs a lot of fuel, and the fuel we use nowadays is the heavy oil. If this fuel in the raw form is used directly on the engines, then it is very harmful. The only option left to us is to purify the fuel. So, in the ships, we generally have a primary method, that is the settling tank, where the impurities settle down at the bottom because of their higher density than the pure oil. But then, what is the need of these other methods when the settling tank has such a large volume and also the greater surface area for the impurities to be separated? Whenever the ship faces this rolling and pitching, that is sufficient to mix all the separated impurities again with the clean fuel air, whatever it has been prepared in the first stage. So it is now again converted to the raw bunker oil, which is in any case not advisable to be used in the engines, where the impurities like the solution sludge will block the orifice of the injectors and make the injectors inactive. That is the reason that to clean the fuel properly, we need to look for another stage in which the remaining impurities could be separated, so that the more cleaner oil now is not in a position to cause any harm to these injectors. So the basic reason for which we go for the secondary method is that the settling tank is unable to completely clean off these impurities in the first stage itself. This is the settling tank in which the raw bunker oil is transferred from the DV tank. In this tank, the primary process of the separation of impurities takes place, and when the ship faces a rolling and pitching action, the impurities at the bottom are also displaced from their positions. As you can see here, some water is pushed upwards, so you can see that the impurities are being displaced from their positions. It is very well understood that the disturbing force due to the rolling and pitching action of the ship is much higher than the force with which the impurities are held downwards. So finally, it has been converted to the same raw bunker as it was in the DB tanks, to clean which we have to make separate arrangements in which this remeshing would not take place. Now let's find out why the remeshing took place. Before being remixed, the oil, water and sludge were held in their positions due to the force of gravity, holding them in the downward direction. But the reason for the remixing is that the force of disturbance due to the rolling and pitching action was greater than the force which holds them downwards. So when the disturbing force, let's say in this direction or even in this direction, is greater than this force holding downwards, the water can be displaced in this direction or in this direction and kept in this position. Sludge can also be displaced in this direction and put in any random place. So to prevent the remixing, we have to make sure that the force which holds the water and the sludge should be much higher than the disturbing force. And in the settling tank, the force which holds the water and the sludge is only due to the force due to gravity, that is equal to mass multiplied by g. Densities of the sludge and the water are unchangeable, and for the unit volume, the forces acting upon the sludge and the water are now dependent on the value of g, the acceleration due to gravity, equal to 9.8 meter per second square, and that is constant. So the maximum force due to the gravity cannot be changed. To prevent the impurities from being mixed with the separated clean oil, we have to raise the holding force above the force due to the gravity. So we have to find a way in which the acceleration can be increased, by which the force holding them in their respective places can be increased. So the principle to be applied in the second stage is to increase the acceleration much higher than 9.8 meter per second square, which will increase the force holding them in their respective places. So now, gentlemen, we have to increase the acceleration so that the net force being exerted onto the individual components is increased. And in the normal gravitational acceleration, it is equal to 9.8 meter per second square, and it is fixed. So now we have to look for a device or an equipment in which the acceleration can be increased. Now the role of the formula of physics comes into play. According to the formulas of physics, the acceleration can be much more increased when it is made to rotate. The acceleration and the rotational motion is the product of the radius and the square of the angular speed, that is the omega. Now that means instead of the contents being allowed to settle down, they have to be subjected to a rotational motion in which the acceleration is increased, and thus the force upon each of the contents can be increased, which will ensure that the individual contents will be fixed by this raised force being exerted upon them, and they won't be displaced from their positions by the disturbing force, how high it may be. And the equipment in which all these aspects are involved is called the purifier. So that will be discussed in the next video. Till then, take care of yourselves and see you soon in the next video. Bye bye.